Hello, Stenver. How are you?
Hey there, Melissa.
I'm great, thank
I'm
you.
really good. And you?
I'm also great. Thank you so much. Thanks for joining this session. This is basically the second of the Pollination Network. So this is more like getting to know each other more, and also maybe contributing to each other's global impact contribution with peer-to-peer feedbacks, and also to have like something solid from the first person perspective, to know how to contribute and to get to know your story, and basically start collaborating and change the world. So if you can present yourself first, and how did you come up with this idea? How did you get involved with Solid DAO, and what inspired you to begin with? That would be amazing.
Well, thank you so much, Melissa, for inviting me, and appreciate all the time and appreciate all the help you're providing. It's truly something special. But yeah, like my name is Stenver Jerkku, just for introduction. I'm right now chairman of the Solid World DAO. And when I talk about my past, I've worked as a tech lead or CTO in multiple growth startups, one of which is now a unicorn, other is post-Series A entity, and so on and so forth. And like I've also, worked on space satellites. I've written code on them. I've bought my first Bitcoin in 2013. Then I lost it to Mt. Gox hack and immediately bought back in. But luckily I immediately bought back in, and like it's so I've always been fascinated by blockchain technologies, environment, and space. I personally believe that humanity should either go to the space before we ruin the earth, or save the environment, but likely both, because that's the only way we're going to survive the long term. So these are the only things I like to work on. And blockchain is just such an interesting financial concept that can leverage all of these, like both environmental and space technologies. And the previous company I worked at was actually called eAgronom, which mission is to turn farmers into carbon farmers. We're still collaborating heavily, and like eAgronom is doing it very successfully in Central Eastern Europe. And as we worked on turning farmers into carbon farmers, we quickly understood there's a massive issue. Like if you're a farmer and you want to start the carbon project, a Verra certified or gold standard certified carbon project, it can take you up to 5 years before you get certified. And you have to work these 5 years. You have to buy seeds, do your regenerative agricultural practices, buy machines, and all the stuff like that. And imagine some of the most conservative people of our society who have worked on their land for generations and like know what they're doing. And we're going to them and saying, hey, use environmentally friendly practices. You'll get paid in 5 years. And how much, we don't know, because the entire market is OTC, like it's over the counter. Yeah, so we're good luck, and hope you're doing. So we quite fast understood that basically we need to go to the farmers, and we need to say, change your practices, here's money. And this makes it real. Suddenly people are like, okay, yeah, this carbon thing maybe is not just talk, right? Suddenly people become interested. They start looking into, they start learning. What are these carbon markets? How does it really work? But it's a difficult market, right? It's like, it's not like most people don't understand carbon markets yet, because it's growing so fast, and like there's a lot of confusion over there. So as we started like thinking how to then find financing and make sure that the farmers get the program where they essentially get exactly the information they need to participate in the market, we ran issues into the financing part. Basically, I was tasked with in eAgronom, which I'm also a co-founder of, to figure out how can we find funding. My associates thought that I will just go out there and build an enterprise sales team and start looking for corporates. But like I said, I've been in the blockchain space for a very long time. And when the DeFi summit started, then something especially clicked in my head. And I was like, wow, that's so cool. And like, I immediately learned Solidity. I went through at least like a couple of dozen white papers. I played around with the apps on my personal money. I made some big gains. I lost some money, and like I basically got to in my head, a lot of things suddenly fell in place, and it was like, yeah, this is the future. There's zero doubt about it. Like we won't need have the financial people in the future we have right now, because blockchain is going to take care of it. And yeah, so I started thinking like, this sounds perfect. Like we need to find a way how to finance carbon projects, but like, and we have blockchain technology, which is basically a world's best financial vehicle out there, the most liquid and trusted and trustless and permissionless way to transact money. And then I started working on it. I started thinking out solutions, designs. For the first ones were very trivial, basically ERC20 tokens, but I got deeper and deeper into there. I also lobbied a lot my associates, my shareholders in eAgronom that, hey, we need to do this. We need to figure out the way how to do it. And it took me some time. It took me like half a year, basically, until I had educated them enough that they wouldn't be afraid of crypto anymore. And yeah, then, well, I basically started working on it. And now World DAO is kind of a spin-off from eAgronom. And it's basically building like public good infrastructure for forward carbon markets. It will be run by a non-profit organization. And the point that it's doing essentially is that it will make forward carbon credits liquid, it will de-risk them, and it will enable lending and borrowing against forward carbon credits. And it took us a while to reach there. When we started, like I said, the first designs were simple, and at some point we thought that we're going to actually fund the projects ourselves. But we got some really world-class people on our team. Like I'm speaking best of the best advisors, ex-employees from B0, which is the world's leading carbon credit rating agency. Ag commodities portfolio managers, talk with some commodity and derivative traders. We talked with, I can't say all the names, unfortunately, some of them want to be anonymous, but like, yeah, we have some VCs, commodity traders, some people who have designed the core founding blocks on ERC systems. And they really like took a shot against our tokenomics, and it's been made like bulletproof. And yet we're using that to do something unique, something that nobody else is doing in the markets in a very, very targeted way. And so what do we do then exactly? As I mentioned, there is this funding gap for projects. You have to work for years before you get paid. To fill that funding gap, there's institutions in the industry. Institutions like carbon rating houses, Star CB, which is our partner, hedge funds, family offices, investors, funds. We're working with these people because they are right now doing forward deals. They're buying up credits ahead of time. And they're basically enabling all the carbon projects to start. Once the underlying credits get issued, then they're selling them away at a spread. But the thing is, these are inherently risky investments for them. Because like these credits are not certified, the underlying projects can go bankrupt, and they often do. Joseph Pallet, who's been like in the carbon industry for over 20 years, he said to me, I have a golden rule. 50% of the carbon projects that are perfect will fail. And it just goes downhill from there.
Oh.
So yeah, it's a massive non-delivery issue over there, and at the same time, these are real liquid assets. So these investors and funds, they're buying these credits, and then they just have to hold on to them. But as traders and institutions and investors, you like liquid assets. You want to be able to trade, you want to be able to redeploy your capital. So it's an inherently risky activity for them to do. And they need, we're there to make it de-risk these investments. So we have a world-class due diligence team, and we're providing due diligence product as a public good. And then as they tokenize some of their credits on our infrastructure, we provide them the path to liquidity. So basically, let's say they have some afforestation forward credits that they have forward purchased before they're issued. They come to us, we run a due diligence, we de-risk them, we give them their opinion, like how much is safe to buy and tokenize our chain. That's a maximum they can put on our tokenomics, token pools. And then they can either sell them with the click of a button, there's always a buyer and seller, or they could put them up as collateral in non-custodial way and take out the loan against them. So in other words, if you have family office with 100 million to invest into forward credits, with our help, they have 150 million to invest into forward credits. And we believe that there's lots of other mechanics I can talk about as well. But the main point is that we believe that if we make this market easier and more accessible for the investors, then this will make it way easier to deploy capital in here, which will speed up the supply creation, which will make the lives of the carbon projects easier, and at the same time help us stop the climate change.
Okay, and how do you actually contribute to the certification side of these projects, basically? Like, how do you facilitate the certification?
We don't. We're financing the infrastructure. So for institutional investors to de-risk their investments. So, well, I guess you could say we contribute by basically pointing the carbon projects in the right direction. We're saying, like, here's a curated list of consultants who we trust, who we work with, like, I don't know, South Pole, etc. And there's around 15 of them. And just go to them, talk with them. They'll help you set up the project. They'll help you how you can get certified and everything. So yeah, our community is there to like help and educate, but our work is we're highly specialized only as a forward market rails. We're building like financial primitive for forward markets. Once that primitive is working, then you can start, other players can come in and build like other tools on top of it. For example, derivatives market like forwards or option agreements and all the stuff like that.
Yeah, okay, I can. So how far are you at the whole roadmap at this point?
Yeah, just to add to the previous question, we do still, once we're out there and like once our mission is live, we do provide a lot of help to the carbon projects in few ways though. First of all, we'll give them a liquid spot price. That's extremely important. Like carbon projects currently don't have a spot price. They don't know how much they're going to get paid before they get paid because the entire market is OTC. The thing you have to understand about voluntary carbon credits is that there's like 200x price spread between the different credits. You have renewable energy credits, which are like few dollars per CO2 ton. And then you have like machines that suck carbon out of the air, and the highest I've seen is $750 per CO2 ton. That's 200x difference, not 200%, but 200x difference in prices. And like it's due to the untransparent nature of the market, the deals, especially in forwards, but also spot markets, are very predatory towards our suppliers. I spoke with the farmer in UK who told me that proudly he got 80 cents per tree. I ran the math for him together with him, and it turned out he got $4 per CO2 ton for reforestation. In UK, I told you probably your credits were sold with $20 to $40, like you got ripped off. That's what you got. So like market is like very untransparent, and that makes it very predatory for the suppliers. And the other thing we provide for the suppliers is the fact that if the market becomes more investment friendly and is de-risked, then like these carbon projects, they don't have to spend so much time on fundraising anymore. Like these carbon project developers, usually they're people who just want to plant trees or just want to do something good to the nature and, you know, help the environment and do their work and what they're good at. Instead, they're forced to go to like some dinner parties and shake cocktails with investors and try to like, you know, find funding for themselves. And it's incredibly difficult for them to do. And yeah, so this stuff can, once it becomes more like a commodity, will be a lot reduced.
Okay, so you are actually, I mean, one of the biggest contribution point is to standardize the commodities price point in a way that it's beneficial for the suppliers, and then making sure there's always a provider for like a liquidity provider, kind of market maker for the carbon market basically. And that eventually creates contributes to the longevity of the projects and also the effectivity in a way that using the labor for what that person's skills is specific for, basically, right?
Correct. So there's basically 4 services. First is, like you said, spot price. And second is liquid pools. So there's always a buyer seller. How we do it is we set up like narrow banded liquidity pools for different types of carbon credits. So there's like red plus forwards, there's like ARR forwards, blue carbon forwards, etc. And the third service we provide is the de-risking for the institutions. And the fourth one is enabling lending and borrowing against forward credits.
And how does it protect the investors in that sense? For instance, if the project, the carbon project itself fails to deliver what it's supposed to, in that case, because I mean, eventually, by just giving time and liquidity, it's not enough to save most projects because it's real life. Like there's plantation and there's certification and all that. Is there anything that also protect the investors specifically in your solution?
Yeah, so this is where the de-risking comes in. So we have a world-class deal that helps with the due diligence and de-risking over there. We have like ex-employee from B0, which is one of the world's leading carbon credit. There are 18 agencies, Ag Commodities, and like there's few other people in there who are basically everybody has worked in this space for a very long time. They know what they're doing, they're risk analysts, and the due diligence will minimize part of that. We also have like insurance pools set up to build to protect our liquidity pools. So the insurance pools are essentially, there's insurance providers, they get paid every time some projects are tokenized. Once the underlying assets deliver, the institution who provided these forward credits gets some of this back. So the insurance provider protects the pools against massive non-delivery, and we take non-delivery super seriously. The Black Monday for our infrastructure if a lot of projects suddenly fail to deliver. So this is the main thing that we focus on. Our tokenomics, our de-risking and everything is set up in a way to be anti-fragile. We have to assume that projects will fail because that's just the reality of the this market, like forward markets. So yeah, this will there's a lot of work we put towards ensuring that this thing is very solid.
So to basically, I mean, summarize and to make it easy to visualize, if I am getting into the space what's the procedure for me to actually start? And can I just immediately, once I go through the whole due diligence process, am I getting the funds immediately? Can I use it in terms of like liquid fiat or anything like, or is there kind of like milestone system where they what's the ease to access these funds and use it basically?
So are you getting into this space as an investor or as a carbon project?
Supplier, yeah, as a carbon project.
Supplier. Yeah, if you're getting into the space as a supplier, then our recommendation is to first step go and find a consultancy firm who helps you set everything up. There's like, we have a curated list, just come and ask from us in our Discord or somewhere in our community, and we'll provide you the list, and then you can just contact them, see who you're matching well, and they'll help you set up the project. And about the funding side, essentially you'll have to work with some trading houses or brokers, and the status quo currently is you basically have to pitch to them and see if they like what you do. And let's say they do like what you do. So because we don't work with suppliers directly, right? We work with investors. That's who we're providing the infrastructure. So let's say the investor then comes to us and says, hey, I have this project. I wanna see what you guys think about it, because you guys are providing public good de-risking. So then this project enters into our due diligence process. They'll ask a lot of questions. We'll analyze their team, financials, carbon standards, climate risks, legal risks. Everything will be basically analyzed. And as it goes through that, let's say the project is like blue carbon project that planned to create 1 million credits. And this is what he wants forward agreements on. From our due diligence, we basically say that we see that this is a perfect team. They have a good background. Everything looks nice. We're willing to allow 250,000 credits to be tokenized on our chain. So then they make a deal with the investor. The investor can still say the price, but now that there's a liquid spot price, it can't be a predatory price, right? So they make a deal. The investor is still, taking on some risk, and they negotiate whatever there is, what the discount will be towards the market, and then investor buys these forwards and tokenizes them on our platform. Now this investor can basically either decide, okay, I just want to cash in, sell them, liquidate them. The more ahead they sell, the bigger the discount they get for liquidating it, because there's some self-incentivizing mechanics in there. That discount is given out to the liquidity providers. Or the investor could take his credits and put them up, stake them in a non-custodial way, and essentially take out the loan against them. And so that way the investor who bought 250,000 credits, let's say the price was like, just for the ease of math, like 10, although it's higher right now, so that it's cost like 2.5 mil, and then they can take out the loan of loan from half of it and invest another 1 million into some other project. So investor suddenly has a lot more capital. It's a lot more capital efficient.
Okay, I need to do the I extend it maybe if we go, because most of the time we actually just go on talking. Yeah, we have 9 minutes. Okay, I think it's enough. Let's quickly talk about the actual, the product and where you're at, and how the governance and staking works in terms of voting, like how the actual system works in a way that it's implemented on the on-chain, basically.
Yeah, so basically We haven't launched yet. We plan to launch in about 6 months, currently in hard build mode, and we want to get everything audited with the best firms out there. We're funded, so we have a big team of 17 people. And about the yeah, it's not a big team, it's 17 people. But and then about the governance itself, it's a DAO, and it will be based like ENS delegate type of DAO. So like, you know, in ENS, when there was airdrop, then people could choose the delegates, and those delegates actually run the daily operations, not daily operations, but the strategic direction of the DAO. So you could think of it like as a supervisory board essentially, and they make like the more important strategic decisions. In our case, the delegates that we have, the decisions they're making are like, what sort of pools should we set up next for what credits? What's the what are the acceptance criteria? What sort of projects do we allow tokenized on our chain? And like these are really super important like things for our DAO to consider, because like we need to make sure we have a very high quality pool of projects on the chain. So, and our DAO is it's very expert and institutional focused. We invite to our delegates basically people who are very, very experienced in the field, have worked for decades and know what they're doing. Our DAO
are you planning to operate?
Sorry?
Which chain are you planning to be built on?
That's a very good question. And we haven't actually made up our mind yet. Because like there's our infrastructure is a bit dependent on banker V3. So we want to see where they're going. They're going multi-chain. And at the same time, like there are pros and cons to all the chains. We will be multi-chain, but our deep liquidity pools will be only on one chain. And it will be an EVM compatible chain. We've been talking with Celo, Polygon, and like a few other chains, but we haven't decided yet. It's hasn't been that critical for us yet.
Okay, we can discuss about that. Like, I mean, there are a couple of other options, and there's one hackathon going to take place in Bali soon. I'm going to be hosting it for specifically social impact driven blockchain projects, and it gets directly grants basically. So we can talk about that. So
yeah,
where are you?
We have like a lot of chains who are offering us grant. Like for example, Celo told us that they see us, Toucan and Flow Carbon as the free blue chips bridges in the space. And like we're happy to talk with anybody and see if this is the right one for us. We consider it extremely important to the chain decision basically.
Of course,
and
yeah.
like
yeah. But I mean, then because it was strange to see the vague description of the governance and the staking, because there's kind of relation. If you stake your tokens more, then you have more governance rights basically, right?
Yep.
Which is a good thing. I mean, it's incentivized the long-term investors, but it's strange because eventually they will be the ones who are going to see the most failed projects in other ways also. And in terms of application on chain, I mean, I'm curious to see how it's going to be actually implemented. It would be really cool. And finally, at what stage are you doing fundraising?
I didn't really get that that they're going to see the most failed projects, or what did you mean?
I mean, for instance, if you're just because there's going to be more voting rights for those who stake it for 4 years instead of 2 years, because of the longevity, those are going to be the ones who actually experience the most failed projects in a sense. Like it's going to, because they will be the ones who invest in more projects. So eventually the profit is higher, but also the risk is higher in terms of numbers. So that actually contributes to the experience of knowing and coming up with their own due diligence. So it actually makes sense to come up with their increase the voting rights for those people who stake more. But I want to.
I think that the governance rights are different than carbon commodity pools. It seemed to me there was a misunderstanding there. Like these are two different tokens. So we'll have like governance tokens, and like you can use those to stake, and you can use that to vote in delegates or make big decisions on the basically the pool, the infrastructure. But like this is different than the underlying commodity pools.
Yes,
like those are very different token pools, and like the risk, I don't see how it increases the risk for zinc.
But can you actually invest in a pool that you don't vote for?
Yeah, you can. They're all publicly tradable pools.
Okay, that's what I'm talking about, the implementation part of the whole thing. Like
yeah.
Okay, so the governance is totally different than I understand the double layer structure, but it doesn't entail voting doesn't entail the investment side, basically. Okay.
Exactly. You could use our infrastructure without having any governance.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. And where are you at the fundraising? One last minute.
Yeah, so we closed our round a few months ago. It was heavily oversubscribed. Unfortunately, we had to leave out a lot of investors or tell them that we'll let you put in 10K now, and like in the future you can add. It was a small round of 2.7 million to basically make sure we can get team going. And we're gonna announce a bigger rounds in a couple of months, which we use to deepen our liquidity pools and essentially make sure we can keep hiring and retaining world-class talent. Okay,
perfect. Thank you so much, Stenver. That was amazing.
Thank you.
And hope to see you again in another session. It's an open-ended discussion. Like we can go forever. It's like a huge project, and
definitely.
looking forward to see its implementation.
Same. Thank you so much, Melissa. It was really cool to talk with you, and I enjoyed the conversation.
Thank you so much. Have a lovely rest of the day, and we'll be in touch.
Bye.
Bye-bye.